Hey everybody, welcome to Get Real, a podcast where we talk about living your best life. I'm here with Cameron Bailey, I'm Sridhar, and today we're going to be getting real about the heart and the mind. And Cameron, I'm going to turn it over to you because you had, since our last talk, quite a profound insight, and you went back and revisited the 5 regrets. So do you want to start us off?
We had a lot of feedback from our last podcast about various things really, but a lot of it was to do with the book and the mind and trying to live your best life. And I think that's what we're all about. I mean, I'm really lucky because in real estate, we get examples of people's lives every day. And something comes to mind actually that happened to me in real estate. And this is the summary of the book. I mean, I met these people, and there's 2 stories with this. I met these people and they were just salt of the earth, Kiwi people. They weren't high income earners or anything, but they amassed this wealth of property, and their whole life was about working hard, saving until they were 63 years old, and then they were going to retire, sell their properties and travel the world. I met them on the year that they were going to start selling the properties and retire. So I looked at their portfolio, and first of all, it amazed me that, they built up such wealth with such normal incomes really. So that's the first story. You don't have to be a rocket scientist or a high income earner or anything to build up wealth. It was as simple as buying them and keeping them. So I met these people, praised their property, worked out a plan to sell the 5 or 6 properties over the next few months, and they were going to go travel the world. The very next week I got a call from them, and he said, we're going to have to put our plans on hold. The wife's just been diagnosed with lymphatic cancer, and she's been given 18 months to live, and they're not sure what they're going to do. So long story short is they rang me back a few days later and said, look, we're going to push on with it. We want to sell the house. We're going to go travelling as soon as we can and try and make the most of it. We listed their own personal property to sell, and through the course of the next 4 weeks on the market selling it, the lady actually passed away. So we watched her die, and I saw the stages of death through the 4 weeks, and she died 2 days before the auction. It was the most humbling thing to see this man come along to the auction, sell their family home just 2 days after the love of his life passed away. And he said to me, and I'll never forget this, I've told this story a lot about to people when I talk to them actually, because it's really made an impression on me. And he said to me, we've done it all wrong. We should have enjoyed it on the way through, because what we were working towards, we never got there, and we were doing the wrong thing. And, we sold the house, and you know what that guy did is he actually went traveling, but he actually gave his children $1 million each to start their lives off. And I think a lot of those stories are in the books, The 5 Regrets of the Dime. And I think I actually reread it. Well, I re-listened to it because I like listening to it more than reading, and I got different things from it this time from reading it a few years ago. And the biggest thing I got out of it, and I can actually pinpoint where it is, it's in the chapter Regrets. It's about 7 minutes to 9 minutes. So if you want to listen to the part that I really liked, that's what I liked. And that was all about how I love the saying where the mind has no answers, but the heart has no questions. Mm-hmm. And most of our time in our lives, we've been ruled by our mind. And the mind that we've got is often influenced by other people. And we spend a lot of time doing things that we think we should be doing, or other people want us to do. So in reality, like we talked about last time, when we do that, we often find it's not really what we want to do.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the thing for me that I've seen in my work, Cameron, over the years is that I guess the real tragedy of that is people don't actually know that that's going on. Yeah. There's a lack of awareness that we're living our lives for someone else or for our thoughts of someone else.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think what's really profound about that book is that, those people find out at the end. And, like you're sharing that story, which I was quite moved hearing. It's, was just all the way you were saying that. It's like, enjoy the day, enjoy what you've got now, build it today, not for some future. And I think this is it's one of the real key things, because I think a sad truth is that there's a lot of people that aren't happy. There's a lot of people that are unfulfilled, and I know in that we just listened to a little segment of that before we started today.
Yeah.
And, the part where, she talks about that yearning for something, that we want to, and that's been my experience, that we have something that we're here to do, or some things that we're here to do, but we don't know. And because we start out, I think what's really interesting is this starts out when we're kids, right? It starts out when, you do something and your parents think you did well, and in a well-meaning way, they say, oh, you did so well at that. And you go, oh, hey, I got praise for doing what they wanted. And so right away we learn that we're here to please someone else.
Yeah.
And then that translates into, oh, I'm going to get a job because they want me to get a job, or I'm going to, be with someone because they want me to be, whatever the case may be. And then we end up waking up one day and realizing all the while, and this is what I've realized in my work, is we peel layers back until, I love the way she said, the heart has no questions. That for me, that means the heart already knows. The heart knows everything that we want. We have to do the work of getting past the mind and all of its stories to access that clarity, so that that's the first step for me in living a life that we love, and getting to the end of it and living it all the way fulfilled, not living with regrets.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth reading that book. It's a really special thing. I don't agree with every part of it, but a lot of it, because the number one regret's obviously not living the life that you wanted to live, but the other regrets is not communicating and sharing feelings with people that you really wanted to do. So that's a really hard thing as well. I think a lot of people I'm not good about sharing my emotions and my feelings and my thoughts with people. And, I've probably got better in the last couple of years, and I'm trying really hard to be better at that. But it's such an important thing to be able to tell people how you really feel. What do you think?
Well, it's, because this is my area, and really finding out, why don't we do that? First it was personal to me, and why wasn't I doing that? Why wasn't I saying the things that I wanted to say? Why wasn't I having the courage to be honest about things? And as I've investigated that, because I came at some point in my life to be committed to not letting anything stop me from living that life. Like when I heard that, for the first time about the 5 regrets, that really moved me. And I'm like, that's not going to be me. I'm not getting to the end of my life and going to regret it. So, or at least I'm going to do everything I possibly can.
I had the same feeling. My PA listened to it because she listened to our last podcast, and she listened to the book, and she cried through the whole book. So, and I think it does make you think these things, doesn't it? I always think the universe is working for us, not against us. And, the good that we get of somebody passing away is it gives us an awareness of maybe just check yourselves and make sure we're spending time with their parents and spending time with the people that we love and doing what we love.
Yeah, and as we said earlier, saying what there is to say. And to me, this is a big thing with me, Cameron, is that we don't say what we want to say. We don't express the love that we have for someone. We don't express, and my experience with that is, personally and with so many people that I've worked with, is it's a simple thing like a fear of rejection.
Yeah.
It's a fear of getting hurt. So I'm not going to say to someone, I care about them or I love them, because they may not say it back, or they may not, whatever the case may be, they may not give me the answer that I want to hear, and so I'm not going to say it. And these are the things that we regret, is that we didn't say, when that person does die, everything we didn't say to them comes to the surface.
Yeah.
Right. And we don't, but I'm trying to say, one thing I took out of that whole lesson was, think about what you would say if that happened, and say it now.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that's the thing. And it's, my motto is, what's the worst that can happen? Right. Like, if you really think about it, fear is such an interesting thing. It's what leads to regret. In my experience, it's fear is what leads to all the regrets. Right. Yeah. And it's like, fear's a funny thing in that if we actually thought it through, the thing that we're afraid of isn't actually that bad. Like, it's not worth not saying to that loved one what we want to say with them. If we actually just go, okay, well, what if they did do what I'm afraid of them doing? What if they did, kind of sneer at me or something? Well, you've said it. You've been true to yourself, and you've said what there is to say. And Yeah, it's a whole game that we play, but
Well, you also get something back from it too, don't you? You know, if you say it to the wrong person, then maybe it is the wrong person that you're saying it to.
and you find that out.
And you find that out.
Yeah.
So it's the same in business. You know, a lot of people don't go to the next level in business because they're just scared of making a mistake or becoming a failure. And in reality, that's never going to happen. So it holds them back. But I find where the magic happens is when you've got two people that actually are brave enough to say it or do it.
It's magic.
That's the magic. In life, that's when I've experienced what I would describe as magic. And it's, you can't plan it, it just seems to happen.
Yeah.
You know? And it comes from your true self. When you're doing what you love and what you truly want to do with the people that are around you at the time, because they're meant to be there, that's when magic happens.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're in this life for a period of time, right? We get to live it in some way, shape, or form. Like, how are we going to do it? Is it going to be a fear-dominated life? Is it going to be a regret-dominated life? Or, as you say, are we going to have the courage when that moment comes? I call it courageous action. And courageous action to me, it's a spontaneous, truth to me isn't always some big, thing that we know everything about. Truth can sometimes be in this moment. My truth in this moment is to say this or do that. But so many of us don't. A, we don't hear it because fear covers up that we don't hear it. And two, if we do hear it, we find the excuses, I'm not going to say that. It might, as you say, I'm not going to take that step in business because I might look like a failure or whatever it is that people, don't, whatever stops them from doing that. But I'll just say an interesting thing about fear, because it's when we actually peel back and find out what fear is, there's something that I do with people, Cameron, which is, I think anybody could take something from, is go, okay, what are you actually afraid about? Because we don't usually crystallize it. We just have some kind of feeling of fear. It's a feeling of fear that stops us. We don't.
It's the mind, isn't it?
It's the mind. We don't even stop and find out what that fear is. We just have that feeling. We go, okay, I'm not going to do it. I sometimes say to people, okay, well, think about that fear coming true. Well, then what? Like, put yourself in that position. If you don't, go off on a tangent thinking about it, are you still fine? Are you still okay?
Yeah.
And what happens after that? And then I asked him this question: what are the chances that that's actually going to happen, that your worst fear is going to come true? So say you want to express your love for someone. Oftentimes we won't do that, or we'll couch that. Let's say we do that and say, okay, what's the worst fear that could happen? Okay, if that did happen, what are you okay still? And the second thing is, what are the chances that you're going to express yourself honestly to that person from the heart, and they're going to,
laugh
at you, or at least they're going to be respectful, right? And so what are the chances of that? That's the real killer for me, is that the fears that are stopping us aren't even likely to happen. They're just not likely to happen.
You've done this with me with a money-based application. You've said, like a lot of people's fear is that they're going to lose all of their money, or lose their business or something like that. And you said to me, and I remember it, if that happened, first of all, if you lost all your money and you lost all your business, would you be okay? And the answer to that, yeah, I would. I'm alive. I've got my kids, and then the next thing you asked me was, what do you do next? What do I do next? So I've still got all my experience, all my skills, all my knowledge. In that situation, I'd pick up the phone and ring people to try and create business or to try and start a business again. So, we overthink so much, don't we? And it stops us moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, it's living here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's like, I say that there's a past that doesn't exist and there's a future that doesn't exist. Because if we really think about the past is really just an image in the mind now. There's no actual place that a past exists.
Yeah.
So, and there's no place that a real future exists. And this is the moment. So the past and the future exist here. So fear exists only in the mind. There's no fear in reality. There's just fear in the mind. There's no regret in reality. There's only regret in the mind. If we think about the past, and the real moment is it's this one. This is the moment of that courage. This is the moment where we really exist. And I'm just listening to what you're saying.
It's about being present, isn't it? present in this moment. Where your feet are today, and that's where you make your best decisions. If you're judged or making decisions based upon your past experience or what may happen in the future, they're probably the wrong decisions.
And how many people are doing that, Cameron?
Everybody.
That's...
And this is what we're trying to talk about. I think it's an awareness. I think the biggest word out there is awareness. So I think the more that we're aware of these things in our mind, in our hearts, and fear, the more we can combat that. Because sometimes before you make the decision, you think, hey, is this really right? Am I doing this because of fear, or because I want to impress my parents, or because I'm too scared to leave my partner or go back to my partner or something like that.
Yeah.
What is living the life you want to live? How do you know that? How do you find that out?
Well, this is where I think that what you started out today was, profound, and what was in that book, which is the mind knows no answers and the heart knows no questions. Like, to me, what I took out of that, that's a profound, that's one of those statements you can take in so many different ways. And where I took it, Cameron, was the mind doesn't have answers. The mind is on an eternal quest for something it cannot find. Yeah. Right? Because the mind is on a quest to try to find something out here in the world that's going to make it happy. Yeah. And there isn't anything out here that's going to make it happy. Happiness is an inside job first. When we're happy on the inside, then everything on the outside, it does have an impact in my experience on, it brings more stuff that we want. That's been, unequivocally my experience. But all of that stuff doesn't bring us happiness. It's in the mind, it's incessantly going, okay, what's the next thing to make me happy? What's the next thing to make me happy? It doesn't have any answers. That was a profound. And the heart has no questions. And for me, what I took out of that is we actually already know. This was something really close to my heart here, because for about 20 years of my journey, once I realized about living your potential, I realized, or I heard, that we had this purpose in life. And if I found my purpose in life, then I was going to be able to live this great life. I got really dedicated. Like, I knew I had to find this purpose, and I searched for it for close to 20 years, Cameron, without feeling like I found it. And at the end of that period of time, I was distraught. I was depressed. I was like, maybe everybody else has a purpose and I don't. And then I heard something that just profoundly changed everything for me. And that was, if we have a purpose, and how can we not? Like, everything has a purpose. Flowers have a purpose to bloom. Grass has a purpose to grow. We have a purpose. And what I heard was, if we have a purpose and we do, how can we not be already living it? And so instead of looking out here, I began to look within for that purpose, and it was just lightning quick. When we remove the questions of the mind and its incessant search for something it can't find, and we really go within, we'll find that the answer was already there. And for me, it's, what do you love? Yeah. What do you actually love to do every day? And if you examine your life, you'll see the parts of it that you love, and you want to keep doing more of that. And you'll see the parts of it that it's those parts that we question. Yeah. How about for you?
I look back at my life, and I describe the mind as a drug. It's feeding you all this artificial stuff that you think is going to make you happy, but it never does. If anything, it makes it wrong. Whether that be with, cars, boats, houses, flash stuff that you want to go and buy to impress the people, but it gets you nowhere. If anything, it pushes you away from who you really are, because I don't know anyone really that's deep down happy and loving all that stuff. So for me, I like the fact you talk about purpose as well. Everyone that's sort of been in self-help, self-wealth, all that sort of stuff, they've read books about finding your purpose and finding your life. And I was the same. I was searching for purpose and what I was really here for. And I used to think that real estate was my purpose. And I thought that the better I'm going to get at real estate, the wealthier I'm going to get, the happier I'm going to get. And that never happened. So my purpose was nothing to do with real estate at all. It's actually, I'm still trying to find it, to be honest. I don't exactly know what direction I'm going in, but I'm a lot more calm with it. I think you can actually get quite stressed out about trying to find your purpose or trying to find your passion, and it'll happen, when you actually stop trying to find it. It's like they say about a relationship, like you can never find it while you're looking for it. Yeah. So you've actually got to relax, be happy with yourself. I love the phrase, put your own oxygen mask on first. I talked about that. It's like it's like my line, but it'll come. And as soon as you open some space for it, it'll come in and something will happen, or you'll meet somebody, or something will come up and it'll be relevant then to you.
Yeah, I mean, I've got two things about purpose, because obviously this is something I deal with every day in my work, and people want to know, have clarity and direction. And it's been a long time, 30 years I've been involved in that question, and I could offer two things based on it that I'd love to share with everybody, and it's changed over time. Purpose to me really is, there are two levels of it. And one level of it is simply, for me, the purpose is simply the life that we love the most. Our purpose really is to love our life experience.
Yeah.
And there are things in life I've discovered, like you talked about real estate, and for me, it's this type of stuff. It's sharing, the amazing things that I've learned and discovered through working with amazing people like you, and just discovering in my own journey. And it's sharing that as one thing. And there's other aspects of my life too that I love, time in my relationship, and, time doing different things. So our purpose to me is really defining and living the life that we love the most. And there are things in it I've found that that we love them so much that we dedicate time each day and each year, not because we feel we have to, not because there's some goal to reach, because we just love it that much. And so we're probably going to spend a lot of our life living it. And then there's another purpose, and I think when it really comes down to it, this is the purpose that I would say is the most important from my perspective. And I say it to people like this, like when you wake up in the morning, that moment of waking up, our purpose is simply to wake up. Like, that's all we're doing at that moment of time. And then we might go and say, brush our teeth. And our purpose when we brush our teeth is to brush our teeth. And I'm not saying that semantically, like, what else are we doing in that moment? Our purpose is to be doing what we're doing. And if we actually have an exercise sometimes where I actually, before I do everything, I remind myself, this is my total purpose. My total purpose is to sit here with you. There isn't anything out. There's no future that's here. There's no past that's here. And I think if we fully understand, it comes back, Cameron, to me for the word presence. Because when we realize my full purpose, this is it. Because for me, one of the things, and I think when I first heard about the 5 regrets of the dying, that got me thinking about, we don't actually know what that last moment's going to be.
No.
This could be it. So if this is it, and it's the last thing I'm going to do, I don't want to be worried about what's going to happen tonight or what's going to happen tomorrow. I want to be here and fully involved in this purpose.
And that's the story with those people, trying to get to 63 years to live the life that they thought they wanted to live, and they never got there. So it is super important to live in the present, as much as you can. But because I think it's also about the balance and finding some middle ground, because you can't just, I'm doing a bit of business coaching and mentoring with a really good friend of mine at the moment, and she's got a business, and she's sort of trying to take it to the next level, but she's going through these sort of deliberations whether she really wants to do it or whether it's, she likes it and things like this. And my take on that is, you can't love everything. Like, if you're going to exist and live and earn money, you can't love everything. There's going to be parts of your job that you don't like, and there's parts of real estate that I don't like. But in general, I'm trying to do as much of the stuff that I love doing as I can. But there's always going to be some stuff out there. It's unrealistic to think you're going to have a life of just beautiful stuff all happening around you, not having to work and all that. So there is a little bit of middle ground, isn't there? Do you think that's right? Or I'm an extremist. Everything that I do is extreme. If I start doing a new diet, I go to the nth degree and I'm extreme, I gym work's extreme, everything's extreme. I'm fighting to find middle ground. I'm fighting to find balance at the moment so I can live a better life, because what I've learned through my career is, if you go extreme, you're successful there, but you're unsuccessful at the other end of it. So I think I'm trying to find balance myself a lot better. And that was my message to her, is that you can't have it all, but if you've got an awareness of it, then you'll have a lot more of the good times in doing what you really love. What do you think about that? How does that sit? You can't just have happy days all the time, can you?
No, things do occur. So, for me, by the way, I think extremism is maybe our next podcast, so we'll make a mental note.
Be a good one, yeah. I'm an expert on that.
Yeah. I think we have a great discussion, especially with your dedication to, you know, balance. And but in terms of, in terms of loving your life, can you love your life? It's a big question. I'm about, as much as possible, I want to love every moment. Now, things do happen in life, and that's just a fact of it, right? Things happen that are challenging and that are tough, and there are parts of life that we do that we don't necessarily love. My policy is, I want to, if it's happening, I want to love it. So, okay, I always have to step back here. This might be a little bit complex, but I want to design a life, and I have worked to design a life that I love as much as I possibly can. Every moment of the day, I want to be doing something that I love. Are there times of the day I'm not doing something I love? That, yes, this is the simple answer to that question. And also, in addition to that, things happen in life that are just tough. Like, you know, people get hurt. We get disappointments and different things that happen. However, those things do happen. And mind state, as you know, Cameron, is really, really important for me in keeping that in a good space.
Yeah.
Because I can't control what happens on the outside. So my thing is, if I do find that I'm doing something that I don't love, I ask if there is a way that I can do something else I do love and have that part be done, maybe by somebody who does love it. Or, can I somehow arrange not necessarily doing that? That's one question I have. Or the other question is, if it is something that I have to do, what can I do to love it more? Like, what can I do? Because I just don't want to spend any of my time having a bad time. And I found that in a lot of my life, when I was doing something I loved, even before I knew a lot of this or got introduced to it, I do things that I love, and I noticed my energy was really great. And then at the moment I did something I didn't like, I just feel flat, and I'd need coffees or whatever it was to just keep me going. And I thought I didn't like that fluctuation. And so I thought, well, is there a way, generally what I find is if I don't love something, it's something I'm thinking about it. I'm not finding something about it that's lovable, or do you know what I mean? So my thing is, I'm first going to design my life to, as much as possible, I'm going to do the work to find out what I love. 2, I'm going to do the best I can to design my life that way so I can live it that way. And 3, I'm going to try to get help or get relief from the things I don't love. And if all else fails, I'm going to find a way. And I feel really thankful that I've met amazing teachers that have given me tools and to help me turn my mindset around, some of which we use. And, I've been able to discover some over time as well, and how to do that. And the 4th one is I'm going to see if I can shift my mindset on those things to keep my energy levels high and to find what's enjoyable, or how can I turn that experience around. So, so what about you?
The one thing that I know, maybe this is in summary because I think this is all about, but, the one thing I do know is that if you do more of what you love, you'll get more. It'll grow. Things, and I've started off with probably doing some small things that have grown into big things because they are the right things and they just seem to happen. So, I'm the same as you. You can't have it all, but focus, awareness, going back to that, on the stuff you do love and trying to make sure you're spending most of your time on that, then that'll grow. And then the stuff that you don't love, that'll hopefully get less and less, or you will find someone else to do parts of it. Like when I look at my business, I'm lucky enough now after, 18 or 19 years in real estate that I'm just doing the parts of real estate that I love. I'm doing auctions, I'm doing appraisals, I'm doing negotiations. I'm not so much doing the admin side of it, sitting in the office. I'm hardly in the office. I've got people that are far better at that than me, and I look at my team of people. I've gathered a team around me, and we all love what we're doing, and that's why we're probably so successful. It's not because we're better than anybody else, but it's probably we love it. With the people that we've attracted in our team, the best people because they love it.
Yeah, and I guess maybe a good way to finish this podcast is a question for you, because you talked about extremism and finding balance, and I know we've been having conversations over the last couple of years. I'd love to know, probably a lot of people might love to know, what else have you come to find out that you love? Like, you've changing your relationship with your real estate, and what else are you finding that you love?
In the last, I'm a little bit like you, in the last few years I've actually found that I've loved helping people. I've I'd love talking to people about their problems with relationships or business or life, and doing a little bit of what you do. And I think I can offer a lot of advice to people about that. So even like my friend yesterday who's doing a bit of business planning, I can offer a lot in that area, and from a holistic point of view as well, rather than just pure business acumen. I think from a bigger overview, I've really enjoyed doing that, and without my real estate behind me. So maybe real estate and my life experience so far is the avenue or the vehicle to push me into a bit more of that.
Yeah.
So that's probably something that I'm really loving at the moment. That's probably the big thing for me at the moment.
Well, that's great. It's just amazing to see how things change.
I'm still working on it. I know. I think the first thing you realise is what you don't love. I've gone totally off all the materialistic things. I went to Sydney a couple of weeks ago, and I usually would have, gone on a shopping spree and spent lots of money and bought lots of cool stuff. But I got over there and I felt unfulfilled by it. I didn't really even go. I went into a few shops and didn't really buy anything. Like I can afford to buy watches and designer label clothes and everything that I wanted to buy. I could have spent thousands over there, and I have previously, but I didn't. I felt unfulfilled by the whole trip, really, not from that shopping point of view. I would have probably, the holiday that I want now has changed. I actually would have rather gone to a beach, had some heat, had some sun, and just sat there and relaxed for 2 or 3 days, and just had some time by myself. And to me, that was the most precious thing that I got out of that holiday, was that I realised that I've changed from how I used to be. So that was really good. And I think it's an awareness, trying to do more of what you love is going to help you live the best life, isn't it? Which is what we're about.
Yeah, and I think what a great summary. I think for today, thank you for going back and finding more info out of that book. I know it was profoundly moving for me when I first heard it, and I took out of today, get past all the stories in your mind and just know that your heart has all the answers, and go within. I love your word awareness. It's a favorite for me too, and get aware of who you are and what you really want, and don't let anybody take you from it. What do you think as a summary for today?
I think that's wonderful. And I think the other thing is, different times of your life, the book will mean different things to you. And, different things are always changing. You won't feel it or have the same thoughts about something that you read or feel today that you would have 5 years ago, or maybe in another 5 years' time. So it's worth revisiting stuff, is what I think. And just because it hasn't worked in the past doesn't mean it won't work now. I mean, that's a business point of view. Just because you've tried it in the past and it hasn't worked, maybe it's time to try it again. Situation's different, life's different, you're different. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I feel like this has been about another 5 minutes, Cameron. I think we've been going longer than that. But hey, thanks for another amazing podcast. Thank you guys for listening. We'll end it for now for Get Real. Look forward to getting together with you again and doing the next one. And until then, thanks for watching, and remember to go out and live your best life.
Thank you.